Well, hello, hello. Welcome to Fempreneur True Confessions podcast. As you can see, I am alone today. Laura is not with us, but that's okay. We're still going to have a wonderful conversation with an amazing guest today. I'm Angelic with Lady Powerhouse Solutions. Laura is Laura Brown with ODAA Virtual Assistants, and we are Fempreneur True Confessions podcast. And we started the podcast because many years ago, it's going on 4 years we've been doing this. No, three, going on 3 years we've been doing this. We weren't finding, when we first started our businesses, we weren't finding other female entrepreneurs that we could relate to. We were seeing lots of Instagram polished, produced, but none of the reality of the messy buns and the up till 3 o'clock in the morning trying to get things done, the frustrations and, it's just some of the hurdles, and some of them are mental, right? That little itty bitty shitty committee that likes to go to town in our head. Nobody was talking about these things. So we decided that's why we started this podcast, because we want female entrepreneurs to be able to come in here and talk about real talk, unfiltered, the real shit that's hitting the fan, and then the real successes that come out of those things, so that we can normalize what it looks like to talk about how challenging entrepreneurship can be and how rewarding it can be. So, and today we have Charity Brown with us. And Charity is the happy CEO, author, and coach. She's dedicated to helping leaders clarify their vision, set ambitious yet achievable goals, and unlock their full potential using the power of the happy CEO method. Through personalized coaching and insightful keynotes, Charity inspires audiences to embrace positivity, resilience, and strategic thinking. So, welcome, Charity.
Hey, happy to be here.
And you also have a podcast, right?
Yes,
It's Clarity with Charity, right?
yes. Create clarity with charity.
I
Yes.
love that. I really, really love that. I listened to some of it. We went on a road trip. Well, it's been a couple of weeks now, but and I got to pick a podcast. I listened to yours, and my partner picked a podcast, and we listened to Joe Rogan.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And who's the funny sidekick that he has?
Um,
I can't think of his name. I could see his face. I could see his funny.
Mosey. No,
He's
yeah,
hilarious. He's hilarious, and I actually enjoyed listening to it. I didn't think I would,
yeah.
but I really did enjoy listening to it.
Did you listen to the last podcast that I produced with, let's see, what's her name? She's the former star on, what was that on? Uh, God, what was that called? Well, she has a National Geographic show. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I forgot her name.
That's too funny. You will think of it, and when you do, you're
Gonna
going to blurt it
years.
out, and we're all going to know what you mean.
Oh,
Because
Pawn, Beverly Hills Pawn. She was like 14 seasons on Beverly Hills Pawn, and she's a voice actress, and
oh, neat.
she's from
I know
Oregon.
I
She's
didn't listen
amazing
to that
too.
because this was a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. Well, I produced it like maybe a year ago. I haven't produced new content for almost 2 years because I have been writing my book and doing my programs and coaching.
Nice.
Um,
A lot of people are writing books. I am getting into one finally. Um, I hired a writing coach back in 2021. And within a month or two of hiring her, my brother died, and my just all hell broke loose. So I had to pause that, and I'm finally picking it up again.
yeah. Yeah, during COVID, I wrote my first book, which is Create Clarity with Charity. And then I produced the podcast, the show that went with it that talked about evolutionary entrepreneurs, the ones that have bootstrapped their business and, put blood, sweat, and tears, blood equity, building their businesses on their own. Like you said, burning the midnight oil and like staying up, until 3, 4 in the morning to get their pages and their campaigns all ready and bootstrapping it and creating an abundance and an enterprise. And so I have some really great guests on there, that
Cool.
about 80 from a couple years ago. But during COVID, I interviewed all of them in my women cave, like we're doing
I
right now.
love it. Yes, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Mhm.
Very cool. So how long did it take you to write your book?
Oh, it took me, well, I had a coach, my Zen Zone coach, Alan, who helped me. He helped me write it. It took about 8 months, but fully like engulfed in it. And I did a lot of voice notes before that, and I've had a lot of, changes since the first book. I made a micro series and rewrote certain chapters, so they'd be more digestible and shorter and just really straight to the point. And a little bit about my story, my struggle, and how I overcame it, and then the tools that I used to do it.
Awesome. I was talking to a gal yesterday that I just met in networking, that she's writing a book right now. And that was what you just said about making it digestible and getting to the point.
Mhm.
She also mentioned that yesterday. She's like, just get to the point. That's what I'm learning. Just get to the point. I don't need to know all this stuff, all this backstory, all this stuff. Just get to the point, the
Well, the
message.
story is really important, but like getting too wrapped up in it will take people back into that negative space. And like with
Huh?
my books, I want them to be immediately like shift change, a thought process, a change in thought after feeling like, oh, I can relate to that story. I felt burnout. I felt overwhelmed. I felt undervalued. I felt, exhausted and
Yeah.
kind of spinning in my chair before, but you don't want to like, and on and on and on and on. But it is
Yeah.
good to help relate. But then, okay, well, let's say, okay, we all felt that way. How can we change and shift that? And like, what's the
Yes.
process of that? So I kind of made them into like 25, 30-minute reads instead of like a 3 hour or 6 hour read, and made it more interactive, like a workbook. Like you can write in it, you can go through the steps, you can, you grade yourself and write your
Yeah.
comments. And so
And
I wanted it to be more helpful then.
that's awesome because I have found I've been on my own like really healing journey since late 2021. And one of the things that I found most helpful but also difficult was the journaling.
Mhm.
And the guided journaling where there is a question and then you answer it. And um it's amazing how if you're just with yourself and you're just doing that, how impactful that can be on your inner voice, on your inner self, your inner worth,
Mhm.
and just the reprogramming because we've been programmed to believe certain things and have certain beliefs from the time, that's just part of growing up.
Mhm.
But the truth is, some of that stuff isn't true. It doesn't work for us anymore. And we have the ability as adults to reprogram, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Reframe our
So,
brain, reprogram is like we can reinvent ourselves at our whim if we so choose. Like
yes.
if you have the vision, you can shut your eyes and see yourself as that triumphant, victorious, stress-free, abundant, CEO of your life standing on the mountaintop or looking at your favorite beach or your favorite lake, and you're feeling like, what would it really be for me to
Mhm.
feel, liberated, free, and successful? Like, what is that vision of me? Sometimes we lose sight of that, but then also to like be able to see yourself as that and then to write it down and be like,
Mhm.
these are my actionable goals to get to that vision, to get to that better version of myself.
Yeah.
um, and that's our superpower. Like we have a choice. If we have the vision and we so choose want to be there, we can.
Yeah, I work with a coach, and that's one of the things one of her mantras is we're always in choice.
Mm.
We're every single choice we make, it's a choice.
Mhm.
Nothing is we don't nobody makes us do anything, not as adults,
Yeah,
not anymore.
exactly.
And so we're always in choice. We may feel like it is not a choice because of societal pressures or gender pressures or what have you, but ultimately one choice may be harder than the other, but we're still in choice.
Yeah.
And the other part of that is, it may be hard. It's hard to be overweight. It's
Mhm.
hard to go to the gym.
It is.
Pick your hard. They're
Yeah.
both hard.
That's
Um,
just like inner fitness. It's hard to go inside and be real and true to
and
thyself.
honest, yes.
We want to stuff it and be like, I'll compromise, I'll keep compromising. It's easier just to stay stuck. It's easier just to be like, yeah, yeah, whatever. Listen to that negative ego, listen to those negative self-talk, and just be like, that's just the way life is. I'm just gonna stay there. Well, that's also a choice too.
Yeah.
But when we want to go to the inner fitness gym, just like when we want to go to the
The
gym
actual gym.
and lift some dumbbells, and we're like, this, oh my God, this is burning. It's gonna burn inside too, to flex that
Yeah.
muscle that we are retraining. And it's all very possible if you put in the work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you said, it's easier. It's easier to just to stay where we are. And it isn't always easier, but it may be more comfortable
Yes.
because that's what we know.
Right. It's more
Right.
comfortable. Yes. And it's just what we know. So it's just, change is hard for everybody. And self change is the hardest because we're our worst critics and we're harder on ourselves than anyone else. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like, you know, I got sick of beating myself up about it. And because when I would compromise myself, I would just tear myself apart, mentally. And I'd look in the mirror
Yeah.
and be so
It's
disappointed.
those mental gremlins really that get us.
Mhm.
Um, and so I have tools. I have an app. I actually have a couple, 3 apps that I like to use on a regular basis that help me stay on track, meditate, journal, and do those things.
Mhm.
I use Dear Gabby, Gabby's app, and I use a astrology app, just give me some insight, right? To like, why am I struggling today? Why am I emotional? Maybe it has to do something with the planets or some, you just,
Have you
um,
heard of human design?
I'm sorry.
Have you heard of human design?
Yes, and I'm a manifesting generator,
I
like
do too.
the truest form of a manifesting
Yay,
generator.
you.
Um, and I
Why
am
you're
working.
so sensitive.
Mhm.
That's why you're so sensitive. Like, and if you have open areas, and so that helps to understand that, to know why I'm
Yes, it
feeling
does.
overwhelmed today. Why is this energetically storm just hitting me right now?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
What do you have any tools that you like to use or apps or anything like that?
Yeah. Well, my favorite is the 9 steps, the Zen Zone mindset. I set up a power hour in the morning. I set myself up for success by putting myself first and having a routine, whether it's walking meditation, getting out in nature, doing some yoga, journaling, and focusing on the outcomes for the day, the challenges for the day, the goals, short term. And so I do that to keep my momentum going. If I stop doing that and I start compromising myself, sleeping in and um, pretty much just laying in bed and working and not putting any action or energy into the next vision and version that I'm working on for myself, then it's just like perpetual motion. You gotta have to take action. So I just have like an hour where I set myself up and calendar everything to set myself on track for the day, so I don't get overwhelmed, frustrated, and I know what my path is, and it helps me get that little bit closer to the big picture.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
know I had a few days when I came back from my um, road trip. I was out of routine for that week. I didn't work part of the time. I hung out with my daughters and my grandchildren, and so and then leaving the grandkids is always so hard.
Aw.
Um, and so I know that I'm gonna be emotional that day. I know
Mhm.
I'm gonna be emotional that day. All the way home, I'm gonna cry off and on, off and on. But the
Mhm.
next day I woke up and I was in such a crappy mood. Like every little thing was like, eh.
Mhm.
Um, and I'm like, it's okay to have a bad day. It's okay to have an off day. Luckily, my partner understands that as well and was very supportive. It's like, it's okay, it's all right.
Mhm.
I was super emotional, like even worse than the day before. And unfortunately, this went on for like 2 or 3 days, and the mental gremlins were really, really bad.
Mhm.
And I just kept doing the things. I kept doing mm, the journaling. I kept doing, and eventually, after a couple, 3 days, I woke up and I was like, oh, I'm back.
Yeah.
I'm back. I have clarity again. I have, like, life isn't, doesn't suck today
Yeah.
automatically as soon as I open my eyes.
Yeah.
Um, is there a reset? Is there a reset practice that you have? And you're like, for me, it's baths.
Oh yeah. Oh, anything with water, and I love to ground in the water. I and barefoot in the grass. That always brings you back into seeing the light go all the way through me and releasing any of the dark energy or any stuck energy or any blocks that I may be feeling. Just breathing and releasing and all the way down to the center of the earth and back up and rejuvenate and all the way up to this
Very nice.
angels to God and light and just but I love to get out in the sunshine and just feeling some sunlight on my forehead to clear my head and to
Yeah.
rejuvenate and to come back into myself because life will pull us all these different ways and it's like we end up starting to be human doings again and we're just
Oh, which
doing
is exhausting.
and it's exhausting and you have to come back into yourself and remind yourself why you're doing all that. How is it feeling? How can you shift it? And confront your feelings. And the journaling is great because we all have that contrast, where there's light, there's contrast. So there's always going to be the yin and the yang. And we're going to have to explore the dark side of things and feelings. Like everything isn't just peachy because we're doing all these
Yeah.
things to keep us going. I mean, the reality, like feelings are feelings and we're going to feel all kinds of ways all day,
Yeah.
right? So I have
I
to
saw
like
I saw something
feeling.
the other day on social media that I don't know why it hit me so hard. It was about the seed. The seed doesn't care whether it's dark or light.
Mm,
It uses both
yeah.
to grow.
Yeah.
And we do need both.
Yes.
But that's the unfortunately,
Hmm.
we do need both. The dark times of the soul,
Yeah.
dark nights of the soul help us appreciate when things are going well and be grateful.
Yeah. Have you read The Dark Side of Light Workers?
No.
Oh, it's a great
Ooh,
book.
I'm writing that one down.
It's
So,
amazing. Um,
the dark side of the light worker.
yeah. And it has some great tools in it. Practices about, confronting your feelings. Because I was trained to stuff my feelings and never show it, whether I'm hurt, sad, disappointed, upset, angry. Like, we had to stuff those feelings and not be like, crying, showing any emotion, talking
Yeah.
about it. It was kind of like keep your feelings to yourself kind of, my younger years and even as like a corporate executive and a boss, when I owned my restaurants and I had like
Oh yeah, you can't show any
you
weakness.
can't share that you're like not going to
Yeah.
pay payroll and you're going to have to not pay yourself and transfer money out of your own savings to pay everyone else. And you're just like ready to lose it. But you cannot let anyone know that. So you're stuffing,
Yeah.
stuffing, stuffing. And at some point, you're going to self destruct or self implode or cause some kind of health issue. And so, if I would have known the tools that I have now during those days, I would have been a lot happier and I'm a lot healthier and probably
Yeah.
would have enjoyed my life a lot more instead of being stuck in chaos and madness and frustration and resentment. Um, so that's why like using these tools to even script that out, like, why am I feeling disappointed? Why am I resenting this right now? Why am I so angry right now? I
Mhm.
really want to connect with that feeling because that feeling is going to teach you about how you're going to evolve from that instead
Yeah.
of getting stuck in it and stuffing it and ignoring it and putting it back and it's still there festering. So
Yep.
yeah, it's kind of ugly, shadow work. It's like never fun. No one ever wants to do it.
But on the other side, it makes us better.
Yes.
It does. It makes us better. Have you heard of Rachel Rogers?
No.
So she wrote a book. called We Should All Be Millionaires. And I used to do a book club for my company and my team. And that was one of the books that we read. And it was very good. But one of the things that I remember to this day is it's talking about in that book was some of these emotions that come up, these feelings that come up. And one of the feelings was jealousy. And she's like, we've been taught jealousy is bad. Oh, no, it's bad to be jealous. But jealousy isn't, it's informative. It's telling you what you want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's
And so
hard.
much of the time we're being told what we want and we don't really know what we want anymore. So pay attention to what those feelings are teaching you about what you really want. So I thought that was one of the good lessons that I learned, just one of many. Highly recommend that book and her. Um, so I know you talked about being in corporate burnout. Laura and I both have been through that. Came straight out of corporate into full-time entrepreneurship. I was lucky. I've always had a side hustle because, again, Manny Jen. Um, and so I've never like only had one plate in the air at a time. Oh no, not me.
Mhm.
And typically I would do things like balls to the wall. And so burnout. One of our first, in fact, our first guest on the podcast was Lisa Hammett, and she had just written her book on burnout.
Mhm.
And she's a TED Talk speaker. Um, and so many people do come to entrepreneurship out of this corporate burnout desperation.
Yeah,
Like, I am really sick of this rat race, but I don't know what else to do, but I need to make money. Let's go start a business.
yeah.
And
But
I've
that
had
can lead to entrepreneurship burnout and chaos and confusion and coming
right.
from a place of hustle and frantic energy. And that's why the happy CEO helps you do that in a way where you can deal with all the burnout first. Why are you having these feelings? What is so overwhelming? What is the best version and vision of you look like if you didn't have to deal with all that? Be self accountability, vision, and like a real strategic strategy for success, not just abundance and money and this entrepreneurial lifestyle, but also inner peace and
Well, it's
clarity.
about personal fulfillment, right?
Yeah, but
It's
personal.
about fulfilling our purpose.
Yeah. Hmm.
But so many of us don't know what that is.
Exactly.
And the only way to figure it out is to go in. And
And
in isn't any fun sometimes, right? It's hard.
well, sometimes you
Um,
need a guide that will be like, this is
yes.
the easiest, fastest, best way to connect with yourself so you don't feel like, is this right? Is this not right? How am I going to connect with myself and, trust myself again and believe in myself again and know what my passion is and know what I like to do? Well, you got to go in and flex those muscles and go through a process that works.
And
There are
trial and error too.
yeah, trial and error, and you find out what you do and what you don't like, obviously by living through life, but also getting to know yourself better, like doing the personality tests and doing self-evaluations and
Yes.
the visioning exercises and really getting super clear with yourself. Then you're like, okay, I know who I need to be, who I really am, like, and getting clear on your actionable steps. So my book, Mastering the Art of Resilience, because we all fall down and we got to get back up. And, it's about that valley low. And when we get back up and finding ourselves climbing back up to the mountaintop, well, we're not going to do that again, but this is my next best version of myself and being able to keep picking yourself back up. Because, like with entrepreneurship, it's just a wild ride. Like there's a lot of uncertainty unless you have like a guaranteed service that people can't live without, like selling air, right? So it's always going to be like this very volatile, fire that you need to have to push yourself forward. And without a map and a team and support and mentors and coaches and
Yes.
people that will help you remember to believe in yourself and to put yourself first and to, really dial into what matters, it's easy to go astray and just start sleeping and just be like, oh, whatever. This is just what it is. I'll just keep commuting and wasting 20 hours a week in traffic and not getting paid what I want, and, burning all my energy on helping someone else get rich.
Mm.
Um, but
That was it for me. I'm like, I am done. I am so done fixing everybody's else's problems and it completely neglecting my own. And Lisa Nichols refers to it as being willing to die.
yeah, I love her.
Love
I
her.
love Lisa.
Um,
She's amazing.
you have to be willing to die. She says, I was
The
willing to
corporate death is
die.
soul death. It's like
Yes.
they just
That
kill my
old
soul.
version.
Like,
Yes, the
the old
old version, the
version.
version that's not working anymore, that
Yeah,
you have to let them die
yeah.
to step into this new version of
Mhm.
yourself. And there's a grieving process, and death can be hard, right? Even when it's just a part of ourselves or part of our life. Um, so you've gone through, and that I have a feeling, I'm taking a wild leap here, that that saying that necessity is a mother of all invention, right? That the
Mhm.
happy CEO came out of corporate burnout, moving into entrepreneurship, and then experiencing burnout there as well. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's how you came up with this whole concept.
Yeah, it's the framework and the method, the 4 Ps: power, personal power, belief, vision, and knowing what your passion and vision, or what problem you solve, and really being on fire about it. It's key that you really believe in yourself when you start a business. And then planning. You need to have a good plan. You need that business GPS. You need to have the structure. You need to be able to do your 60-second elevator pitch and feel confident in yourself and in your business, and then also be able to know what sales channels and how you're going to make the money and how many clients you need and who your clients are, really dialing into the key things, and then positioning yourself for success. What channels are you going to put this on? Facebook, Instagram. Where are you going to find these people? Where how are you going to help these people, and where are you going to find them? And then profits, because it's not a hobby. We need to make the
Yes.
money. We need to make the money. And so the profits, I get into the numbers because I'm a numbers girl. I have an accounting degree. I had an accounting business for 20 years, Cubics Financial. That's how I got into fractional CFO corporate, world. And then also having my businesses is always a numbers game for me. And that's how I controlled um, my life. But it was rigid control, because it's only when, it's just the
But
money,
it's
like
not
myself. You have to work
That's
on
not a
that.
bad thing. It's a good thing. Rachel Rogers in her book, she said, you need to look at your numbers every day. You need to look at your bank account every day. Not because you're obsessed or worried. You just need to know.
Mhm.
You need to be present
Well,
and
yeah,
appreciate what you have.
yeah, and be thankful in it, because it's a currency. Money is a currency. It's a frequency. So, like, if you get one with money and you stop being afraid of it and not wanting to look at
Yes.
it and ignoring it, and
Yes.
never,
Yes.
yeah, you have to learn to love money. Money will love you. If you're like, this is my number, I know 5 numbers. That's all I need to know. I don't need to get all stressed out about it. I don't need to like balance my checkbook to a penny, because we have programs that do that now. So I help with that, setting up the QuickBooks and setting up, okay, don't get overwhelmed with the money, and let's start being honest with ourselves about the money,
Have
because
you heard of the profit first model?
the profit first model.
Okay. Oh, it's a lot to go into now, but yeah, look into that. It's really cool.
Yeah.
I have a client that is a coach with Babson for the 10,000 small business collaboration, and they work that model. So with us, we've only got a few minutes left, and I want you to have time to talk about what what was it that obviously there was corporate burnout, then entrepreneurial burnout that helped you come up with the happy CEO and the 4 Ps. But
Mhm.
there's a lot of stuff that happened, right?
Mhm.
There's a lot of trial and error. There's a lot of, but let's just one story where you were like, this thing happened, it was hard, and this is what I learned from it. And I'd love for the next person not to have to go through this. So here, let me share this with you.
Yeah, that's literally my whole life. I think I did it the hard way at
I
first.
know.
You
How
know what?
many times over and over again?
So I know. So I think the fastest, quickest way is saving 10,000 hours, 10 years, or 10 decades, whatever, to figure it out is find somebody who's done it already and has mastered it and can show you the quickest way to success. So a mentor or a coach or a consultant, someone will be like, actually, let's avoid all the stumbling blocks. Because I've had many in all different kinds of businesses, whether it's restaurants or consulting or accounting or we even had car stereo business, real estate, there's all these businesses, e-commerce, all kinds of things that can go wrong in all those
So,
businesses.
who was the most influential guide for you for coming up with the happy CEO and the four P's? What was that catalyst for you?
Yeah, well, I hired a bunch of mentors and coaches for the last 20 years. Like I've always had a good one. Alan Knight, who's my Zen Zone coach, he's a former Zen monk. He helped me develop um, the the power part of the four P's is the 9 steps to inner fitness, the Zen Zone mindset. And that's the inner fitness coaching program we have. But we only do like the first 2 steps in the Happy CEO because that's what it takes. And then if you want to learn how to do the magnetism, the meditation, and the flow and getting through life using the 9 steps, then we have just a specific program for that. But he was very influential to me in that mindset, inner fitness space. But in business, I mean, I had so many different business coaches and consultants. I had like Sam Ovens, Ty Lopez, Tony Robbins. I went to Firewalker Convention, which shifted my entire belief about myself as a business owner, as a woman business owner, my self identity. We have to really
Mm,
get into that when you're a business owner, you have employees is different than when you're a solopreneur and you're the CEO of everything. You wear all the
all
hats,
the hats.
everything. And I've
Yeah.
done that and it's a lot. And then learning to delegate and having someone show you like actually you don't have to do that all by yourself.
Yeah.
And that's why I created the Happy CEO because there have been so many times where I felt like I was carrying the entire bag, and it's like so weighing heavy on me. And I wish I could just talk to my partner or my team players, but it was like, I'm the one who has to fix this. And sometimes you don't want everyone to know what kind of problems you're going through if you're your employees and they'll lose faith in the business. So you kind of have to like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
I'm working on it.
Yeah.
So I know there's a lot of uh, occasions where I felt, like giving up. I mean, and I've had a lot of different experiences where, I closed my restaurants, I sold them, I had to get out. I mean, I've helped lots of businesses claim bankruptcy. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that happens in business that is out of our control, like COVID, like areas where it's completely out of our control. And there is a way out. And I've worked with a lot of people. I'm going to say over 5 I can count that have committed suicide over their business. So that is one major reason why I went into the inner fitness part of business because I've always been in the cold boardroom poker face, not letting anyone know what's really going on underneath. And
Right.
there's suffering in silence to the point where they'll kill themselves. And that is the hardest thing for me is to realize I was sitting right next to them and I had no idea.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And that's another thing is that not just that you can't, you have to be strong, right? You can't show any quote unquote weakness. And the stigma that mental health is a weakness.
Yeah.
Mental health, mental fitness is not a weakness. It's not anything like your physical body.
Yeah.
Um, and we need mental fitness, right? Let's talk about that. Let's normalize the
Yeah.
fact that going to therapy is okay and
Yeah.
actually normal. We're all a little fucked up. None of us is completely sane.
Right.
Um, and so we all need therapy, you
Yes.
know. Even if you think your life was so great and it was wonderful, I didn't have any trauma in my life. Um, there's still going to be something that you need to process, because life isn't perfect, it isn't unflawed, it isn't without challenges.
Yeah. Especially day to day, it's like they don't teach us this in school how to manage our feelings, emotions, and challenges in life and how to live, take our power and live how we want. It's always like how our parents want, how society wants, how this person
Mhm.
sees, how we need to be like this, we need to be like them. Well, why aren't they, going back in the inside and say, what really makes you happy? What is it that you enjoy doing? Let's get back to the fundamentals of like being a human and enjoying life. No one teaches us that. They're just like,
Yeah.
you're going to get a corporate job, you're going to have a family, you're going to work, you're going to do this, you're going to do that, and you're
Yeah.
going to do this, and maybe you have a good sport or something, but maybe that's what they all wanted for us. And so it's hard to live without having guidance and someone saying, let's really evaluate who you are and what makes you tick and what makes you passionate and what makes you turn on and what makes you light up.
Yeah.
And then once we do that, then the creative comes out and you can start feeling like yourself again. Because I literally disassociated. I was so stuck in overwhelm and trying to overprove and prove and prove and prove because I was never enough. I never knew enough. I was never good enough. I never had enough degrees, enough money. It was never what everyone I wanted. So I always felt like I am not enough. I still got
Yeah.
to keep going because I got to prove myself, because I always
Right.
felt like I had to prove myself. And once we stop looking for the external validation and waiting for everyone to go, oh, you're enough now.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah.
Then we can be ourselves. When I look in the mirror and I'm thinking, wow, I really overcame a lot. I've come a long way. I am proud of you. And doing mirror work is weird. It feels weird. But if you start looking at yourself in the mirror like you're your biggest cheerleader instead of your biggest critic, and looking at yourself and congratulating one win a day. That's all. When you're brushing your teeth, I am so proud of me that I got up early and did my workout. Or, oh, I'm so proud of me today. I showed up for this live podcast,
Mhm.
like I have to remind myself because no one ever taught us to praise ourselves, to give ourselves credit, you know, and that will cultivate a lot of self gratitude and self worth. And so I think we need to teach that literally in kindergarten. Like, okay, we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance, but let's look in the mirror and say it to ourselves that I honor you. I am proud of you. I respect
Yeah.
and like, let's bring that back because I looked in the mirror for so many years and ripped myself a new one because I wasn't enough. I was always overweight. I
Yeah.
was always, this. I was always that. I was never meant to be happy with myself. I had to train my.
So have you I don't know about you, but I have seen like pictures of myself from when I was younger, and I thought I was so fat. I was so ugly. And I look at that girl now in those photos and I'm like, you are flipping gorgeous.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And you have
Hmm.
this mental image of yourself, this self-image. And then later on, as you've matured, you look back and go, "I'd give anything to look like her again."
Yeah.
And she thought she
Exactly.
was so ugly and
Hmm.
fat,
Yeah.
and I look at her and I'm like, "You look like a freaking supermodel there."
Yeah.
Like, and maybe it was the good angle or whatever, but I'll take it. I will take it.
Yeah.
Um, all right,
Isn't
so
that a good
unfortunately,
feeling though, to notice when you noticed that you were being that you were lying to yourself? Because the mind is a filthy little liar.
yeah,
The mind
yeah,
will trick you. And so that's the key with the inner fitness. You are literally flexing your mind muscles, your heart muscles, your coherence, your heart brain coherence,
yeah,
connecting everything. And once you come back into that space, it's unstoppable. You'll
yeah.
be unstoppable.
That's awesome. And I hate that we're out of time. I feel like we could just like talk forever, bestie.
Yeah.
But I do want to give you a few minutes to talk about you have some awesome free resources on your website.
Yes. Yes. You can visit charitybrown.biz. And I have the Master the Art of Resilience book. So if you're feeling overwhelmed and you need the pep talk and maybe some cool steps that you can take, it's an easy read. It's a digital book. And then there's also Ignite Limitless Success. So if you're ready to start visioning your best self for the future, that book is free to download as well. And then there's a free strategy or clarity. It says clarity call, free clarity call. You can book a call with me if you want to chat about the happy CEO or anything that we
Awesome.
chatted about today.
Wonderful. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for coming on the podcast and being spending this time with us and with me.
Yeah.
And we will drop all of the links that we talked about today in the show notes. And so be sure you go out there, take advantage of this opportunity to go out and get to know Charity a little bit better. Download some of those free ebooks. I'm going to,
Yeah.
and be sure to check her out and check out the podcast for sure.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
check out her podcast. We'll drop links for all of that in the show notes. Charity, again, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank
And
you.
yeah,
Thank
and so
you.
we will see you guys next week, Mondays at 12 Eastern. Have a wonderful rest of your week.
That sounds.
Bye.
Bye.